Last week, Adam Pearce was tasked with finding a new opponent for Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. At the end of SmackDown, it was revealed that Seth Rollins was that man. After a heated face-to-face, we are set for the final SmackDowns before the Royal Rumble 2022. Let's see how it all plays out as we rewind the Bloodline. Welcome back to the Bloodline Rewind. I'm your host, Johnny Bakeshow, and my co-host, Teddy Mongoose, is in here with us today, and this is part 56. And if you missed last week's episode, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns came face-to-face ahead of the Royal Rumble matchup, and we got you caught up on everything behind the scenes during this time in late 2021 and now into 2022, so go back and check that out. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the channel, and it keeps you in the know for when we drop daily Bloodline content every single day. So to end last week, we teased some new developments here in Cody Rhodes Watch. So Goose, what did you dig up for us here?
So we are deep, my man. Keep in mind that we are now in January 2022. For people that don't know, it's about to get real quick. So from the January 10th Wrestling Observer newsletter, Cody did an interview with Barstool Sports where he said he regretted just about everything in the Anthony Ogogo feud. He said he stood by his big promo leading up to it, did admit it was tone deaf. He does stand beside it because of the thought that went into it. However, he admits that it just sent the angle into a tailspin, and that is putting it lightly, right?
Yeah, I remember that. Whew, man, was that a swing and a miss.
It was. We move on to the New Year's Eve Rampage. Cody wrestled Ethan Page for the TNT title, and this match featured the first real "Let's go Cody, Cody sucks. Let's go Cody, Cody sucks" chants, which is mirroring this John Cena-ish character that he's now stuck in with AEW.
And that's even weirder to say here, exactly where we are in live time in 2025 with the John Cena comparison.
When the last time was now.
And if you listeners are out there worried about, because we're not talking about current day content, guess what? John Cena tapped, he gave up, there's nothing to say about it. That's why we're rewinding the Bloodline here.
Oh, and everybody else is talking about it.
Right. There's nothing to say.
Let's wind the clock back. So from the January 17th issue, Dave notes the Bucks publicly noted that their option years were picked up. Meltzer then says, quote, obviously Paige, Brandy, Cody, and Jericho were renewed since they were on TV this week or were confirmed as staying. End quote. Okay. We move forward to the January 19th Dynamite. Word has leaked that Cody has not yet put pen to paper on his contract. Cody came out for a promo to set up his and Sammy Guevara's TNT title unification match, and fans chanted Royal Rumble at him.
Someone told me to save this promo, but I honestly don't know if I'm going to get the chance, so I'm going to do it now.
After that news leaked, Brandy was booed like crazy for her match against Willow Nightingale.
She should feel right at home with all those boos. Literally, the Nightmare Collective was a disaster. This was a disaster. Everything was just getting so bad for them at this point.
Yep, it was stacking up L's for Brandy, and now Cody literally is facing. It's becoming cool to boo Cody. Yeah. You get the "Let's go Cody, Cody sucks." Like the stink is on him, and now we get the Royal Rumble chants because people think he might be out the door, and my God, will they regret that soon?
Yes, they will.
So we move on now from Cody Watch, the January 24th, 2022 edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Dave has the 2021 business and review notes. So the two largest attended shows in 2021 were both headlined by Roman Reigns. That was SummerSlam versus John Cena on August 21st and WrestleMania Night 2 versus Daniel Bryan and Edge on April 10th. Okay. For the wrestlers with the most main events, drawing more than 10,000 fans, Roman Reigns was first with 6. And how about this, dude? Tied for second with 3 each was Kenny Omega and Bianca Belair.
Wow. That's really that Bianca is up that high, especially in this time.
I was not surprised at Kenny because AEW was riding high, but
Correct.
Bianca being tied with him was really something.
That is really something to think about.
So Roman was also named the biggest draw in wrestling in 2021. That's his fourth time winning. Also won in 2016, 17, and 18. But as far as, quote, dominance of being a draw compared to others in the business, and the Observer describes this as the Roman or whomever the dominant person is doubles the second place person.
Yeah.
Roman is the first wrestler with a dominant year since John Cena in 2013.
That's pretty, that's really, that shows you how much that this storyline is actually connecting and working.
And it's not working on Raw.
Right. It's only working on SmackDown.
Right. Raw is still drawing 3, 4, 5,000 seat houses. As of this week in time, there are 31,538 tickets out for the Royal Rumble. The company announced that the February 19th show in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia will be the Elimination Chamber. And a fun little nugget here, for 2021 wins and win percentage, Drew McIntyre had the most wins of anyone, 100. Second year in a row for that. We did that last year.
Yeah.
Roman's win percentage for this year was only 517.
I guess that makes sense, but it doesn't feel like it.
Haha, right. Let me give you a reason why. Undefeated in singles matches, throw out a couple of DQs or whatever. Jey Uso had the most losses of anyone in WWE in 2021 with 49. Jimmy was tied with Dolph Ziggler for second with 44. So there's a whole lot of Usos eating pins on these house show six-mans, dude. That's exactly where it came from.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because we talk about, at least on TV, about how long did we talk about Jay just getting annihilated for months in 2021? Literally from January to like August, it felt like he was eating every L.
Yep. He was the whipping boy, and then Jimmy took his share too. And again, house shows are back now, and that's what's going to skew that. That's not a televised win-loss. That is total from everybody. And so, and poor Usos are eating some pins, brother. So got to take us into SmackDown, man.
Yes, we got the January 21st edition of SmackDown, and we get the recap of the face-to-face between Seth and Roman from last week, and then we get a Raw recap where the Usos came to Raw to super kick Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I like this. It was a recap of the Seth story so far. Seth showing up in Roman's locker room, the promo between the two last week. We clipped that with the heist of the century, Seth outsmarting the Bloodline, laughing like Waluigi. We got a little bit of everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then we get that line from whoever's doing play-by-play at Raw at this time. Sorry, fella. But he says,
message from Roman Reigns delivered.
So we come to live time, and the Usos are in the ring as we are live from Nashville, and the Usos are here to celebrate Roman Reigns' 508th day as Universal Champion, surpassing Brock Lesnar's record that we mentioned last week here on the show. And they mentioned Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and Brock Lesnar as the past champions, and Roman makes his way down.
Yeah, Roman's music hits, Pat McAfee yells, and Roman walks out. Cole reminds us 508 days as Universal Champion. Roman takes the belt off his shoulder. He gives it a look, raises it above his head. He gets the pyro. Cole tells us Roman's next title defense will come a week from tomorrow night at the Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns versus Seth freaking Rollins. Cole then reminds us that Seth told Roman that Roman has never been able to beat Seth for a championship. And what I loved here is Jimmy is barking at the crowd, and Roman is standing there for what feels like hours with his hand out, just waiting for that microphone. I love this moment.
You know what's funny is that he was talking to Pat, and Pat was talking back to Jimmy, and so they were just in their own little world for a second.
While Roman just patiently waited, and there's no wise man. And the Usos still have Paul's face not X'd, but blacked out on their shirt. Yep.
So Nashville acknowledges their tribal chief, and now we get a highlight package of Roman's reign as champion. And
what I loved about it, though, was that they started with August 30th, 2020. Of the Payback show, Roman wins the title. We get Roman beating KO at 111. We get him beating Daniel Bryan and Edge at 202. He beats Cesaro at 223, again at 258. Ray Hell in a Cell is 291. 321's Money in the Bank. As they show that, we get the voiceover from Roman's promo last week about being in God mode. And then they show the clips of him getting the Ula Fala from his dad and his uncle. 355 was Cena. 391 was Finn. 416 was Brock at Crown Jewel. 441 was Big E at Survivor Series. Like, dude, I thought this video was awesome. But, an interesting note. They did literally skip over the first 100 days where it was him just killing Jay over and over and over again. We went from him winning the belt to him beating Kevin Owens.
Yes, that is actually really interesting. You point that out, and it's really cool to see the individual days that they pointed out because we've literally covered all of that here on the Bloodline Rewind so far. You can literally go back and check it out. It's in the playlist.
Absolutely, man.
So Seth comes out, and he looks like Reverend Hugh Hefner here.
Yeah, I called this bathrobe over a suit, and Pat McAfee, as I typed that, goes,
It's unbelievable. In a bathrobe, he comes out.
so me and Pat, now we're vibing. Once we're enemies, now we unite.
So Seth congratulates Roman as champion, but he wants to celebrate because his reign will end shortly. Seth says,
Oh, you took it so literally.
and he sent his cousins to Raw to do his dirty work for him. And if you had a message to send,
You've got my number. Just text me.
Seth says we really should be celebrating the longest reigning SmackDown tag team champions in history, the Usos, who Seth calls them cornerstones of the bloodline.
They're the ones who hold you up, just like me and Mox did in the Shield.
He actually mentioned John Moxley here by name and just the way that he did it in the Shield. Like, I thought that was huge.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that, or you picked up on that rather, because when he said Mox, I freaked out.
Yes.
And then immediately, though, I realized this probably went right over Vince's head, dude.
Oh, he has no-
I guarantee there's no chance that he knows who John Moxley is.
Dude, there's no chance he knows. And then even McAfee mentions it too. He says Moxley too.
Right? And who, what? Indie guy?
Screw you! You're fired!
Absolutely.
Right.
So Seth then starts an Usos chant.
Well, he tried.
Ooh, so's. Ooh.
He tried, but it didn't really take. So then he just cackles, of course.
Right. Roman then cuts in by
Guys do that now.
Oh, little brother, you.
he comes out here and he makes all the same excuses and
Did John Cena write that promo for you, huh?
Yeah, that was the ooh moment.
it was. So then Roman reassures Seth that their match at Royal Rumble will be one-on-one. Seth doesn't believe him and he wants to find a partner and face the Usos tonight. And if Seth wins, the Usos are banned from ringside at the Royal Rumble. And now Roman is pondering, but then Jay just blurts out, "We accept."
Hell yeah, challenge accepted, Oos.
Yeah, Jay's the habitual line stepper.
Or he would step across the line. Habitually, he's a habitual line stepper.
He can't help himself, man. He gets too fired up. Roman is supposed to be methodical. He's
Right.
supposed to rely on the counsel of the wise man that he doesn't have. And Jay has always been a firecracker and always bites off more than he could chew.
So Jay then says no one in the back is crazy enough to tag with Seth in the first place. And then
I think
Roman tells him to cut this music off and nothing is final until the tribal chief says it is. And he wants to raise the stakes.
Let's raise the stakes. When you lose tonight, that means you lose your match at the Royal Rumble.
So Seth accepts and we have a big main event now for tonight.
Yeah, so then we get a quick WrestleMania promo, and Pat McAfee throws a dictionary on the desk and screams, "The definition of stupendous." He then proceeds to give 25 or so synonyms. So I think he confused the dictionary with a thesaurus here, and I'm assuming that he didn't actually read either, even though he told Cole to read the dictionary. So I looked up, what is the actual definition of stupendous? Extremely impressive. And I don't know if he said those words one time when he was running through that whole spiel. So after Naomi loses to Charlotte, we got Sonya as the ref. And then this thing's been going on forever. It's about to be over. Thank God. KO and Seth are backstage with Kayla.
So she asks, why does Seth want to put his title opportunity on the line tonight? And Kevin butts in and he wants to answer this. And he says that if it wasn't for the Usos,
would be the longest reigning Universal Champion of all time. But
he thought of the Usos doing that to Seth
To my friend, my best friend.
And it tears him up inside. So Seth says that Kevin is an honest man and all of that therapy is working.
I like that.
It was so funny. Seth says that the risk is worth the reward, and maybe with the Usos at ringside, he might have a chance against Roman.
One-on-one, death, taxes, and Seth freaking Rollins beats Roman Reigns.
Yeah, and this show, in between the Bloodline stuff, was a slog. And so we get Sammy out next. Thank goodness, man. I need to know, Kid Rock is in the crowd, and I have to talk about this because it's on my favorite segment on SmackDown, another episode of Insane. So there's handcuffs, mace, nightsticks, tasers, all this stuff's on a table in the ring. Sammy comes out, says if Johnny Knoxville did this, Sammy can do it too. He's going to test all these self-defense mechanisms again on himself to prove that anything that Knoxville can do, he can do better. So he gets a cattle prod out. He says he can take down a rhinoceros. He zaps himself. He sells it really big. He says, we're going to crank it up to 2. And then he says, when Knoxville did it, it incapacitated him. So let's see what happens when a real man does it. So he turns around and puts it right on his heart. He then says, we're up in the ante. He zaps himself into the heart and he just sells it really big.
Yeah.
And then Johnny Knoxville's music hits. He comes out, cuts a promo on Sammy, says something seems off with the weapons. He exposes that Sammy, the cattle prod was real, but it was never turned on. Sammy was faking it. He then turns it on, zaps him with the real thing. Sammy sells it like you've never seen anything sold before. Knoxville throws him over the top ropes. Dude, this segment was excellent. So then we come back and Eric Bischoff is talking to Adam Pearce backstage.
I'm back.
I saw this and I was like, what is Bischoff doing here out of nowhere?
Well, I'll tell you what he's doing. He's explaining leadership to Adam Pearce. So Sonya walks in. Pearce introduces the two. We get Batman Pearce. He says, he and Eric were talking, and we're finally going to settle this Naomi and Sonya thing with a match. And then Bischoff puts over Pearce's leadership. And I just wrote, what in the world is that? However, all right, before we move on, Double J is backstage. And he's putting over Boog's guitar playing. After this goes on, the Usos music hits. I don't know what in the world is happening. Take it, John.
So Seth and Jimmy get his kicked off as Jimmy powders out after an early roll-up from a few times from Seth. Jay tags in with some chain wrestling as Roman is watching on.
Yeah, the crowd is chanting for tables right away. And this time, it's annoying. It wasn't annoying when the no holds barred. At this time, it's annoying.
The Usos are stomping a mud hole in Seth, and Seth fires up to get to the other side of the ring, and he tags Owens in, and now they are stomping a mud hole in Jimmy. Seth then hits a body slam, and he wants to go to the top rope as Jay interferes with the ref. Jimmy knocks Seth down as the Usos take back control of the match.
Yeah, and while all this heat's going on, Cole brings up again that Seth always beats Roman, and Pat is, of course, carrying Roman's water. That's his shtick here. But he's right in the sense that this is a completely different Roman Reigns, something that we've talked about literally since episode 1.
So Jimmy goes for the hip attack, but Seth explodes out with a clothesline, and then he tags Owens in. Owens runs wild with a flurry of moves, ending with the cannonball. Owen goes to the top rope for a swanton, but Jimmy gets his knees up. He then lands a super kick, and Owens rolls to the outside. He eats another super kick from Jay as we go to break. So we have a double down when we come back from commercial, and Jay tags in. He takes out Seth off the apron, and Seth immediately runs back in as the ref is holding him as the camera cuts to Roman. Owens then is still being beaten down in the corner. Jimmy pulls him out, and then he misses a step-up enziguri, but then Owens counters with one of his own. We finally get the hot tag. Seth is running wild. He sends both of the Usos to the outside. He lands a very awesome tope. He then hops up on the apron. He hits a glancing knee on Jay for a huge near fall.
Yeah, this was so glancing.
Barely
it glanced. It did, but it was so glancing.
So then Jay lands a neck breaker for a near fall of his own. Jay then goes for a super kick, but Seth catches it. He gets Jay up for the buckle bomb, but Jay's momentum is like pushing Seth back, and Seth drifts back to Jimmy. They get the tag, they hit the alley-oos, and Rollins somehow kicked out of this.
Yeah, great near fall right here.
Yes, and then Jimmy takes out Owens on the apron. Jimmy then heads to the top. He flies over Seth. Owens blind tags in. Seth lands a forearm to Jimmy. Jay runs in. He eats a kick from Seth as he rolls out. Owens hits a pop-up powerbomb for another huge near fall here. He goes to the top where Jimmy lands an uppercut. Both men are now on the top rope. They're going for the superplex, but Owens hooks the leg. He lands a fisherman suplex, and then Jay breaks the pin at the final second. This was a great sequence of moves here.
Yeah, out of everything that happened, this was my favorite near fall. There were a couple of good ones. This one was awesome. The fisherman bomb from the top could have absolutely ended it, and they had me for a second.
And that's because it was a huge move whenever Owens hit it on Roman in the cage match.
Exactly. I got the call back.
Perched in the corner, and KO is able to reverse it into a fisherman buster from the middle rope. We just had this brutal match 5 days ago, and we're still pulling out these big spots here. So Rollins tags in, he gets super kicked by Jay. Owens comes in, stunners Jay. Jimmy super kicks Owens. Seth super kicks Jimmy. He lands a punch to the back of Jimmy's head. Seth stomps Jimmy, but then Roman runs in out of nowhere. He Superman punches Rollins, and then the bell rings for the DQ.
Stop! Wait a minute! Reigns with a Superman punch!
So Rollins and KO are declared winners by DQ. Seth's holding his jaw, but he's somehow still laughing. Dude, this guy is Jack Nicholson's Joker at the end of Batman 89.
I love.
You know what I'm talking about?
Well, that even plays into that even more. We'll see later in next week's episode of SmackDown.
Oh, we will. We will. So a few things from the January 31st, 2021 Observer before we go on to the next show. Royal Rumble entrance rumors this week include Ronda Rousey on the women's side, Bad Bunny, and Shane McMahon.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money.
Hopefully he wins the whole thing, man.
Put Shane at 30. I dare him.
I'd love it. So Dave says that the favorite for the men's Royal Rumble would be Big E, as long as the plan for Seth and Big E as the first night main event holds. The expectation is that Lashley wins the WWE title at Royal Rumble, and then Lesnar goes on to main event night 2 at Mania with Roman, which is the current plan. I also want to state that Sammy re-signed a multi-year deal. He and Kevin Owens are believed to be signed through 2025, and that is evident by the push that Sammy has been receiving as of late.
So we are at our final SmackDown of the episode. It is the January 28th SmackDown. It is the go-home episode. The Rumble is now 24 hours away, and we get a progressive match flow, and we are having another face-to-face, one-on-one with Seth and Roman tonight as Seth arrives dressed as the Joker from 1989's Batman.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and as you said, man, is that not apropos? I love it.
Later in the show, Kayla is with the Usos asking what they think Seth's message will be to Roman Reigns later tonight. They brush off that question because even though they're barred from ringside, Roman Reigns will be the Universal Champion. And then we get the Viking Raiders who enter the frame, and this was weird. They love their axes. We have Batman Viking Eric now, and this is a total waste of a segment to me.
Dude, they threatened to cut off the Usos' beards with their axes.
I don't know what to say to that.
That they said that. Threatened to cut off your beard with your axes.
And then
whatever,
dude. They said that they were going to cut the belts in half with the axes too.
That's what you do with axes, apparently. I'm glad that they use them for trees, for overtaking villages, beards, and title belts.
I guess.
So I'll tell you one thing that was not a waste of a segment, though, dude.
Yeah.
My favorite segment, which is Insane, is now changed by Sammy to a live podcast. So his first weekly guests here are Shanky and Jinder.
I love that. I love that.
So Zayn says that Knoxville isn't famous worldwide, especially in India. And then Jinder and Shanky basically cut him off and say that, no, Knoxville is very famous in India, which Sammy sold, and I loved it all. This then led to Boogs and Nakamura coming out so that Pat could dance first, and then we get Nakamura kicking Sammy in the head. But I love Zayn, dude. I love it all.
So we get the face-to-face at the end of the show. Roman and Seth are in the ring, and Roman wants Kansas City to acknowledge him.
I will acknowledge the fact that last week I played you like a fiddle.
And that he thanks Roman for getting his cousins DQ'd so they can actually have their match tomorrow night.
Yeah, and you know what I liked about this is that he went after Roman's ego, which was the key.
Yes.
And Roman, showing growth and character development, didn't break. Good stuff.
So Roman said it was a simple decision. Either sit and watch him embarrass the family or punch him in the face. Seth says, whoa, it's an embarrassment now to get pinned by Seth Rollins. And if that's the case,
then you've brought more shame to your family than anybody.
Yeah, it's a shame to get pinned by a guy that wears bathrobes and God only knows what else. That's what's the shame. It's not Seth Rollins. It's what he's wearing.
Yes. So Roman says Seth is still living in the past. The tribal chief equals God mode now. And Seth says he's living for tomorrow, but the past is a good place to start. We remember the most famous Money in the Bank cash-in of all time and how he stole Roman's first WrestleMania moment right out from under him.
And Roman no-sells it.
Yes. Yes, that was so interesting here. Or whenever he came back from his knee injury, he pinned him flat on the mat for Roman to get his 30-day vacation. And Roman again blows off Seth, and Seth says,
I took a steel chair to your back.
And that, my friend, this is what I like about the layers.
Yes.
Because he attacked the ego, which is what everybody did for a year. We covered it all. It always got to him. He needed Paul to talk him off the ledge. Here, he learned from Paul. He didn't let the ego shots get to him.
Yeah.
But Seth made it truly personal. And that was what was awesome here.
And you can see him visibly change here. It's building in Roman's face. He can't forget about his ultimate betrayal. This betrayal, Seth taking that chair to his back, is his Achilles heel. We're going to see it throughout the future. This isn't the first time that this is going to come up with that chair shot. I cannot wait to talk about this more in depth later on. But
and no way that it's on purpose later, but bless them for making it. This this was a pivotal moment in the storyline.
Seth says that
I knew what I was doing. It was for your own good.
He's going to launch him into superstardom so he can thank Seth for all the money and fame and the WrestleMania main events. And then Seth continues saying that Roman is the best. He's beat all of them.
Except beat me when it matters most.
Tomorrow night, it's not going to be personal. My brother, I will always love you. Great. Roman says, chair to my back, breaking up the Shield.
I tried to forgive you, but I'll never forgive you for what you did to us.
He hates Seth. Seth says that he will hate him even more tomorrow night. And Seth says that Roman thinks that he's a clown, but
you're the joke.
The bloodline, his family, is a joke, and tomorrow night it all goes up in smoke. He shoulders past him. He goes for the Superman punch. Seth ducks it, rolls out, and Roman is visibly shook as we go to black.
Yep, man. This was a cold angle, a cold match that give credit to the two guys that are involved because they had this history. Yep. They brought it all up. Bless the writers, whomever contributed to this. This is great stuff. And double blessings because we will talk about this exact moment about 1 year from now in our timeline.
Oh, cannot wait for that. So that was part 56 of the Bloodline Rewind. If you've made it this far in the video, make sure to leave a comment and a like and tell us what you thought about these SmackDowns. And next week, we'll be covering the Royal Rumble and this match. I cannot wait to talk about this. So with that, I'm Johnny Bakeshow.
I'm Teddy Mongoose.
And we just called it in the ring.